with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Impatiently waiting to see over the next hour if Kyle Lowry will in fact be a Raptor much longer. If you're not from Toronto, maybe this doesn't matter to you as much, but you have to understand that we're watching the best player in franchise history potentially walk out the door in the next 60 minutes, so it's sort of a big deal for us. And, I think there'll be a lot of discussion around that, and we're going to save that a little bit till the end of the show, but it's kind of sad, and it kind of hurts. Even if it doesn't happen, it kind of hurts because it's gotta, right? It should happen for the future of the franchise. It needs to happen. But damn, tough to lose Kyle Lowry. Hard to believe he's already 35 years old too. I
can't believe that.
Yeah,
I can't believe
nuts?
that.
And it's just crazy. So
9 years ago, I think he joined the Raps.
Wasn't that the Bargnani deal? Or no, was that somebody else?
No.
Oh, he almost got traded to the Knicks. That's what it was with Kyle, right? It was early on.
I saw there are people doing like different versions of the trade tree, and today's Norman Powell deal is connected to the Raptors trading Gravis Vasquez.
Wow.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I remember he was pretty popular for a hot minute in Toronto.
He was good for a hot minute in Toronto.
He was.
And then not. So, it's a shame that we're waiting on this Raptors news because there's nothing to talk about in hockey. Nothing at all. Nothing that set the entire sport on fire, basically. Dude, this is a huge friggin' story.
Well, we can't get to it now because we need to get to Who Wore the Crown?
Oh, nice.
Who is it brought to you by, Jesse?
Give me 1 second to pull up the March.
By the way, if you don't know what Steve's talking about, it's Tim Peel. Tim Peel is what Steve is talking about. That's the answer to the big question.
Today's real crown should go to Gary Forbes, who was traded for Kyle Lowry in 2011 to the Houston Rockets, who I don't think he ever ended up playing a game for them. And we got the best player in our franchise's history. So it's not too bad, Wow. And a future first round pick, but I don't know who that became. Yeah, Gary Forbes. All right. And today's Who Wore the Crown? Do you guys not have takes on Gary Forbes?
No, I have nothing to say on Gary Forbes.
I was waiting for the part where you go kidding. His name was actually
no, that's the guy.
There are Raptors who came and went who I was like, yeah, I couldn't tell you much about it, but I remember Gary Forbes. What? I don't remember any of that. Nope.
He's a human who existed.
Yogi Stewart, my favorite.
I bet. Yeah.
Chris Hubbard is our sponsor of Who Wears the Crown today.
He played for the Raptors in 2003. And no, sorry.
It's to celebrate his daughter Brooklyn's 7th birthday.
Oh.
So her birthday is April 1st, and she's the biggest Little Leaf fan in the world.
Well, happy birthday, April. And hey, listen, when you want to sponsor Who Wore the Crown, the best way to get to our hearts is little kids and their birthdays. And congratulations and happy birthday to you. When you're sponsoring the Crown, why not?
Why not?
Reach out to Jesse and let us know who you want to shout it out to and what donation you're making, because we're getting lots and lots of those as well. And thank you so much. Steve, who do you give your crown to today?
Well, it's fun because the Leafs have not played since our last game. So, since our last show, last game, my brain is on such autopilot. Producer Drew was giving me crap because we did our Dang It's video yesterday and I called them hat picks, which is the opposite. That's not the same. Heavens, Steve, that's the Friday video, not the Wednesday. Let's give it to... I know who I'm giving it to. Austin Matthews. I'm giving it to Austin Matthews, the team's best player, leader on the ice. I know John Tavares is the captain, but he is the leader on the ice. And when Matthews is rolling, he is a true superstar in this league, the best player on the team. No disrespect to Mitch Marner. It's just goals, Goals are a big thing. But more importantly, he gets the Connor McDavid treatment sometimes in that he's so good we overlook him. And someone, maybe you guys have it up, someone sent us a list of all our crowns from this season.
Yes.
And Matthews is like 9th. So I'm going to give him a crown because, damn it, he deserves one.
All right, fine.
Shout out Dylan at DylanBT94, who's been keeping track of our crowns. It's a very fun list.
It's the same reason Matthews will never win a writers voted on award. It's because it just seems like it's too easy and we never pick him. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. The heart goes, okay, well, it's Connor, but who else could it be?
Exactly.
And then sometimes they come up with a list of more than 3 names, which is wild. And then 2017 happens.
Yeah. Jesse, who would you like to give your crown to?
Oh, I get to go next?
Yeah.
I'm going to give my crown to the Raptors all-women broadcast that happened last night. Round of applause.
Absolutely.
I think it was it's really cool to see something like that. It was Amy Aubert, I believe, Megan McPeak, Kian Nurse, Kayla Gray, Kate Burness, and all of them hosted the game. It's a really cool thing. I said it on the last show when we had the all black line first time in professional sports or professional hockey in like 50 years. When kids can see it, they can believe it. And having that there for all the little girls out there who love basketball, like it must have been cool to turn on the TV and be like, hey, look at all those women up there doing the thing that I dream one day I can do. So shout out TSM for putting that on. Shout out the women who were on the broadcast who made it happen.
Incredible work. And shout out,
you can achieve it.
Kayla Gray. I told this on the air at Virgin, but she was when my dog escaped. I don't know if you guys remember that in the fall.
Yes.
She was the first person to reach out and DM me and go, "What can I do?"
Oh wow.
Yeah, she would. And we've never met in person, but she was like instantly, "What do you need?" It was pretty amazing. So awesome. Shout out to Kayla Gray, super awesome person.
I do love Kia Nurse's attempt at I would absolutely do this too in the situation she would. And if I may, get that garbage out of here.
It wasn't quite Jack, but she tried.
It was very funny. It was great. Funny. That's exactly how she should have said it.
Yeah. Yes. Perfect. That's the only way it would have worked, right? It's so good. I want to shout out a reporter named David W. Cochran for the CBC in Ottawa for today, right now, breaking that the federal government in Canada is poised to approve a 7-day quarantine with extra testing for NHL players traded from American to Canadian teams before April 12th, according to a government source. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that the 14-day quarantine that is preventing Eric Staal to Toronto from happening will no longer prevent Eric Staal to Toronto from happening. So, Eric, thank you. Welcome to the Leafs. Appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm already getting inundated with tweets. Are you done recording the podcast yet?
We are not, thankfully. So that should change the makeup of the trade deadline a little bit. And like they said, extra testing. If you test them, I don't know if you test people over and over and over again. I think eventually you're going to know one way or the other if they have it. And I think also it would help too if if the vaccines are available in their area, if every NHL player gets it, probably easier to trade you cross border, don't you think?
Probably. I'll just say, listen, do whatever's safe, and also helps my team.
Yeah, which would be get the vaccine. Anyway, yes. Listen, Jesse, who are we shouting out again? Who was the sponsors? You know, I'm terrible with names.
It's Chris's 7-year-old daughter, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, happy birthday. And thank you for listening to Who Wore the Crown. When you're listening to Who Wore the Crown, why not?
Why not?
Make a charitable donation or shout out your kid too, because that's really sweet. And happy birthday. April 1st was the birthday. Is April Fool's?
Yes, it's coming up on April.
That's a tough birthday to have in your early teens. That's a tough birthday. All right. Now, I don't know, guys. Is there any other story to talk about other than Tim Peel?
No.
Not really.
Anderson went on IR for a little bit officially, Is
he still on it?
I didn't see that.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he went on. I'll pull it up here.
Okay.
But he's officially on
Let's
10
talk about that. Fuck Tim Peel. We don't need that.
Oh, okay. Really?
Frederick Anderson out 7 to 10 days. There you go.
Well, I hope it's more than that because it seems like he needs some time.
I'm pretty sure about the IR retroactive cap space stuff from last episode. I think that'll probably end up happening, but they're just being very cautious about it. Now, did you guys do some reading last night? Because I did some reading.
I read a lot of stuff. My Twitter timeline was surprisingly full of some of the most horrendous takes on this particular incident that I've ever seen. Like, I don't even know how to fathom the way certain people who represent the game view the game and think fans want the game.
Can you explain what happened first?
Yeah, where do we start here?
Well, let's start with Tim himself, the Peel Master.
This is usually your bag, Adam. You want to do this?
So Tim Peel, Nashville-Detroit game. Useless fucking game. No one cares. And honestly, the only reason you're playing that game because
they all agree.
Because you want to get traded out of the city that you're in. Let's be honest, right?
Okay.
So for whatever reason, you've got the most tenured NHL referee, the guy who knows the rules the best. The guy who knows the rules so well that he's done multiple Stanley Cup finals, which is a big deal for a ref, and he's retiring in April. This guy has been exposed to the league for decades. Yes. He's at least done 2011 and 2019.
Oh, okay.
So I know he's been around for a while. And Tim Peel, well-liked, well-respected, and as they are going to break, a clip runs saying basically, I was trying to get Nashville a penalty early. And people were like, who said that? The only people on the ice that are mic'd up, and it was clearly somebody that was, because you know the difference between a microphone like this and a lav microphone on the ice. You can hear the echo. The sound isn't as full. You know what a microphone from the ice sounds like. Well, who is it? Wyshynski tweeted both guys' names out. Which one of them was it? Well, and obviously there are people in hockey who know the game so well. They are nerds that know the difference between Tim Peel's voice and the other guy's voice. And good for you if you're one of those people. I am not, because I don't care that much about the referees.
Would know because he drank in a bar with Tim Peel.
Right. So there was a story there too.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Okay. Also, I got the audio ready whenever you want it, Adam.
Can you play it?
Let's go.
It wasn't much, but I wanted to get a fucking penalty against Nashville early in the
It wasn't much, but I wanted to get a fucking penalty against Nashville.
But I wanted to get a fucking penalty against Nashville early in the
By the way, he's from New Brunswick. And if you can't tell by the way he says fucking, that is a New Brunswick man. I have been there, and that is a New Brunswick man.
Now it's interesting because the first thought is, who is it? My first thought is, who let that run on the air? And apparently it was a broadcast technician on the game who was testing the line, wanted to make sure that the referees' mics would actually work through the broadcast, because that's really important if they're going to have a penalty and call it. And
that's something you do all the time. You pot up things and you just check it when you're in a TV studio in a truck, because everything's going so fast. As an audio technician, you can sit there and you just pot up a line, be like, oh, I hear something, pot it down. You usually don't have that come to air.
He thought that they were to commercial. Had they been, this never makes the air. We never hear about it.
Yeah, here I got the tweets from Sean Shapiro. On the Tim Peel thing, I was curious of how the clip made it onto the broadcast. Turns out an audio technician in truck was checking on ref mic and thought broadcast had already gone to commercial. This also isn't uncommon in broadcasting. Audio is checked, and sometimes the commercial space is missed by a couple seconds. Obviously, 99% of the time, no one notices or something incriminating is said.
Right.
And really,
what did you just say?
What did I just say?
Yeah, wasn't it along those lines of that tweet?
you never just get through a fucking show. Always gotta get shit on for something. Jesus Christ. I just try to help. I'm halfway through reading it. I'm like, this is exactly what Adam and Jesse just fucking said, but I'm gonna keep saying it. Hopefully no one notices, and there it is. How long into the show are we? 10 minutes? Christ alive.
Jesse, what I'm confused about is why. Why were they testing the line? And by the way, where did Gary go to school? I just need to know.
The zoo. Let's talk some more about the zoo. Tim Peel once visited the zoo, and he pointed at a kangaroo, and he said, that's a polar bear. And I said, you got that call wrong too, Tim.
Now,
anyway.
So here's where it gets very interesting. You know, obviously, this is a mistake by a broadcast technician. It goes to air. People go, what the hell? Now, I wonder if this is the non-Twitter era. In fact, if this is the early Twitter era, before you get any sort of video replay that fans can literally strip off their television, throw on the internet, and make it go viral over and over and over again. You wonder if this local game between 2-0 teams and 2 markets that are not really excited about their hockey teams right now. Detroit's excited about the future, and they should be. Mm-hmm. But right now, they're not really excited about the current Red Wings, right? I wonder.
They make it tough.
If this ever even sees the light of day again. And I don't think it does. Mm-hmm. But the reality is there are too many people out there who are stripping these things, putting them online, and frankly, doing everybody else a service because it gives you a nice little sneak peek into how the game is called. Now, you're probably asking, if you don't know already, what happened with the referee, man? Well, it's interesting. The NHL has said Tim Peel will not ref another game again, which amounts to them giving him a 4-week vacation. Was he fired? No. Will he still have a pension? Yes. He just will not ref another game again because they take the integrity of the game seriously, which is what Bill Daly from NHL head office, who is the second in command to Gary Bettman, said. Now, you take the game seriously? If you really did, and if you really thought what he did was egregious, let's say Tim Peel, and he wasn't, let's say he was caught betting on the game. Then Tim Peel would be fired. Then the integrity of the game is called into question. When you make an action that causes people to doubt the integrity of the game, you get fired. The NHL is very aware of this. They clearly, through their actions, do not think that what Tim Peel was doing, it's not about what he said, because this is a public-facing move. They clearly do not think that what he was doing at the time, giving Nashville the early penalty when maybe they didn't deserve it, maybe it was a weak call, they clearly don't think that that's affecting the integrity of the game, despite their statement. Now, if you are to look at, and I want to bring this up to you guys, and then I'm going to let you run with it, okay?
Sure.
This goes back to an issue that people have had with the NHL for a long period of time. And it's this evening out. You can catch it. They do the even out penalties. If you've never been aware of this before, you're going to be sort of shocked by this. But have you ever found that if your team gets a couple of penalties go their way in a row, that they instantly get some weak-ass call about the next minute after their second power play ends? Whether it's a goal or not?
It's either you get the penalty called against you or the team that keeps taking penalties continues to struggle, but the whistles are put away.
Right. Now, I looked back at the last 3 nights of hockey. We right up until Saturday. I didn't look at Saturday night because there was like 12 games and I didn't have the time to do the research. But I wanted to see how many games finished tied in penalties or within 1 penalty of each other. I found 3 total that were not.
Holy shit. Out of how many?
Well, let's count, shall we?
A couple dozen?
So here we go. Last night, penalty stack up is this. Flames and Sens, 3-3. The Ducks and Wild are 7-2. But if you pull out the fighting and instigators, it's 2-1. I'm talking about in-game penalties here. I'm not talking about extra added 10-minute misconduct bullshit. That's not a penalty, right? It's different.
Right.
Pens and Sabres, 5-3. Jets in Vancouver, 3-3. Kings in San Jose, 3-2. Previous night, the Tim Peel night. Jersey and Philadelphia, 4-3. Florida and Chicago, 3-2. Detroit, Nashville, Tim Peel game, 4-3. Dallas, Tampa, 4-3. Phoenix, Colorado, 4-3. You noticing a trend here?
Yeah.
Monday night, Sabres, Rangers, 4-3. Jackets, Canes, 3-2. Flames, Sens, 2-1. Isles, Flyers, 2-1. Wild Ducks, 3-3. Colorado, Phoenix, 3-2. Vancouver, Winnipeg, 1-1. Vegas, St. Louis, 3-2. And San Jose, LA Kings, 6-3, which is rare. See how rare that is? And
yes.
And for shits and giggles, let's do 4 more on Sunday night. Pens, Jersey, 2-2. Tampa Bay, Florida, 7-6. Vegas and LA, 5-3. Dallas and Nashville, 2-2. The NHL has pushed its referees for years to call even amounts of penalties or within reasonable even amounts for the entire time. Rather than calling their own rule book. You have to understand, that there are teams with different characteristics. We can all identify, say, the Boston Bruins. I would even say Tampa Bay with Blake Coleman and some of the guys they have, and Pat Maroon, guys that maybe are more prone to taking penalties than the average team. But the NHL will even out the penalties between the teams that are more likely to take them and the teams that are least likely to take them, just because they want to be seen as fair. When in actual fact, that's the most unfair thing you can do. It's inaccurate.
It benefits a certain team.
And you're not calling your own rule book. And that's why tougher teams like Boston, you don't have to like this. And Boston Bruins fans, you should love this. It affects your team positively because you will take some penalties, but you'll also get a lot of penalties that just won't be called because they're trying to play the game even. Boston's smart. They knew that, and they built a team like that. And if you want to debate me on this, please keep going. You want to go through all 14 games on Saturday night, the previous Friday where there was like 6, keep going. You can go back years.
Do you guys want to bring Joe into this conversation?
Joe Yerdon? Yes, absolutely. I forgot he was going to be on the show.
Well, here, we got to set it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this goes back so far. And there's a big issue here. What is the first thing that I messaged you guys the night the Tim Peel stuff happened? What is the first thing I messaged you?
I don't remember.
No.
If I lost money on the Detroit-Nashville game, I want my money back. I want every dollar, every cent. That's an illegitimate game.
Mm-hmm.
I bet on an illegitimate game. I lost money. You give it back. If I bet $500 and I lost it, you give it back. If I bet on, the over, or I bet on the spread, or I bet on anything, you're giving my fucking money back. And Elliot Friedman basically was talking about the gambling implications. So wavelengths on the broadcast, I think it was last night. The NHL is trying to get more and more into gambling. It's an enormous part of the entire business model of the Arizona Coyotes. We've learned recently through ownership, they want to get in arena betting. You can't have illegitimate games. And we've all known this has been going on.
The facts back it up, right? The numbers are there.
To have concrete proof, if you know the next penalties, if you know Tim Peel's or whoever, because you shout out to Tim Peel for being the first ref to ever do this. You know what I mean?
He's just the one that got caught.
He's the one who got caught. But if you know that the ref's watching you like a hawk, and guys were tweeting about this, like it's normal, not understanding the point that they were making.
Major
They're like,
media
all right,
personalities.
boys. Yeah, we got 3 straight penalties for us, which means they're going to be looking to call one against us. Which means that even up calls are a thing. You went to the locker room, talked about it, and adjusted your game because of the way the refs call it.
Mm-hmm. And you have major media personalities, and we'll get to Joe. Major media personalities going, well, it's benefited your team too.
And hurt them. The fuck?
It's not good.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Okay, so you put your whistles away. It benefits the dirtier teams, the greasier teams. You use the whistles a lot. Oh, so I guess you want a lot of penalties. Well, that benefits the speedier, more skilled teams. Hey, I have a wild idea, guys. Call the fucking game the way it's supposed to be called. Now, sorry, we'll get to Joe here. So Joe is coming on because he wrote an article 10 years ago for NBC on something that is not talked about nearly enough. And it is a court case in which the NHL had to get rid, or not had to get rid of an official. They fired an official. That official took the league to court, and therefore emails from Colin Campbell with the NHL were released to the public. And holy shit, did he say some things.
Let's bring him on. Hey, fellas, we're in the thick of winter and a storm's brewing. It looks like 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast when you trim that hibernation bush that's taking place in your pants. Seriously. Luckily, our partners at Manscaped specialize in products to make sure you're walking around town with those beautiful snowballs. Manscaped is here to provide the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision engineered tools for your family jewels. We're talking about the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, which is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Because of their ceramic blade and advanced skin-safe technology, your snags on the snowballs will be reduced. The trimmer is also waterproof, so you can trim in the shower. It's a lot easier, right? Manscaped Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The package comes with a new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker, ear and nose trimmer, performance boxer briefs, which I have and I'm wearing, and they're comfortable, and a travel bag to put it all in. You don't have to put your underwear in, though. That's okay. 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. All you have to do is use the code DANGLE, DANGLE. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code DANGLE. Thanks, Manscaped, for making our winter wieners look so good. Joe Yerdon, well-known, Die by the Blade, the AP. Joe, we've known you for years. It's great to finally have you on the show. Honestly, we've been following your work forever.
Yeah, it's awesome to be with you guys. I mean, geez, I've been following you guys forever as well. So this is great.
At least a decade, as we're about to find out. We've never brought someone on because of something they wrote 10 years ago.
Right. And Joe, I mean, the last 48 hours in the NHL have been pretty insane. This Tim Peel stuff has been very, very interesting. And before you were coming on, for context, we were sort of setting up the issue of evening out calls. And this story that you wrote 10 years ago, all of a sudden, and this must be wild as a journalist, this is something that just doesn't happen when you're a podcaster, that, you know, such something a decade ago comes in and is like, bam, the most relevant thing of the day. So can you tell us at the time about the situation and what happened?
Well, it's pretty wild because with all of this stuff coming back around again with this whole Peel situation, and everybody's reaction either being a mix of, yeah, this is what we've been talking about forever, or, oh my God, this is actually happening. And, you know, it's one of those flash cut things to me. And I'm like, I've been saying, guys, this is insane. But back in the day, Tyler Dello, who now works for the New Jersey Devils, had uncovered a pile of emails that were part of a case in which the NHL was settling with a former referee, in which Colin Campbell had reached out to Stephen Walcom, who is the head of referees still. I'm not sure. I don't know if he retired, but he was for a while. And it involved him reaching out and complaining about players. Calls made against Mark Savard, saying that, yeah, this guy's just a faker. He's a diver, and maybe don't go so harsh on, you know, guys that get in his way, and also complaining about calls made against his son Gregory, which a little bit of a conflict of interest there. So
I can't believe that wasn't the end of it.
Right. And
right then and there. Then and there.
That's the whole thing that drives me nuts, going back and rereading that story, which I wrote for Pro Hockey Talk 10 years ago, was that my closing paragraph was like, oh, this is probably it for Colin Campbell. And nope. It totally was not. And
when you're in, you're in.
Yeah. And that's definitely the way it is in the NHL. Is if you're in everybody's good graces, you're there till you want to leave. And, you know, let's face it, Tim Peel hasn't exactly been in great graces with the league. I mean, certainly him showing up at Foley's in New York City with Greg Wyshynski and shooting the breeze and doing shots probably didn't sit too well with them. And he wasn't a guy that got too many playoff assignments anyways. We certainly didn't see him get past the first round too much. If he did,
he did do a couple Stanley Cups though, did he not? I thought I saw that. Am I wrong about that? Because I did say that earlier, but I thought maybe I'm wrong on that.
I'm not totally sure on that. I know after the whole thing with Wyshynski happened, I was always keeping an eye on to see how far into the playoffs he would go, and usually he was on the cut list after the first round. But
wow,
that might have been like a Stéphane Auger type of thing where it was like, hey, you've got a lot of bad publicity, it's time for you to go bye-bye, kind of thing. Which I think everybody's forgotten about Stéphane Auger and what happened with Alex Burrows ages ago, which is a whole other thing where it was apparently Auger had a beef to grind with Burrows, and Burrows, being Alex Burrows, decided to not be quiet about it and called him out on it. And Auger was under the microscope for forever until he was kindly asked to retire, which they let him do, which is kind of what happened to Tim Peel here. And yeah, I know, right, Steve? Like, this is It's funny how things work out. And, the fact that Tim Peel wasn't fired, he was just not scheduled anymore. It was a very Milton from Office Space kind of thing. Like, hey, we put your desk in the basement and, hey, if you're not getting a check, well, hey, that's fine.
Is that because he knows where the bodies are buried?
I think the referees would know where they're buried, but it's just a question of whether they report it or not. That's the whole thing. So,
Well, so when I read your piece from 10 years ago, so it's about a court case. An official was fired, and wrongful dismissal, I think, is what he was asking for, by simply being like, hey, we'll pay you not to ref in the NHL right now. You're not fired, just go away. Mm-hmm. To me, it seems like the NHL is trying to avoid going through that again with Tim Peel. What do you think?
Yeah. Their move when these types of things happen is that they want it forgotten about as quickly as possible. And I don't blame them, because when it involves officials and integrity of the game and the whole ball of wax that goes with that, you don't want that to be an overhanging subject of discussion. You don't want that to be the focus taking away from the games. And the problem there being that, like, yeah, okay, maybe in a lot of leagues and a lot of fans just might forget about it. I mean, NFL fans certainly kind of forget about some things, like, people got mad about pass interference calls, and everybody forgot that it involved the Saints and the Rams a couple of years ago, where the Saints guys were getting mugged, and then they were just like, oh, we'll just change the rules, it's fine. Or the tuck rule going way back when they're just like, yeah, no, it's fine, it's not a rule now. But in the NHL, everybody remembers the stuff. And the hockey fans have memories like an elephant, and they never forget. And yeah, sure, you might forget about OJ and Burrows because it's just a blip, considering all the nonsense that we see with calls constantly, and there's always some kind of problem. And I found it hilarious that the first player to speak on it was Matt Duchene, considering that offside reviews came into effect mostly because of a play that involved him in Nashville, of all places, while he was with Colorado. And if it's not one thing, it's another. And if you're calling into the question the integrity of the game, that's what gets everybody upset, because now they got to worry about gambling. Like, gambling's a much bigger and legalized deal in a lot of places. Teams have deals with gambling outlets. The league has deals with a gambling outlet. So you can't go upsetting the money. And if you got referee questions, man, who's going to want to spend money on it?
Well, Joe, that was what we were sort of talking about coming into this, because there were about, in the last, I would say 4 days, there's about 20 games, and I can find maybe 3 that have penalty differential of more than 1. Mm-hmm. Most are tied or within 1. And then there's one with San Jose got like 7 penalties because they were just not good. And then a couple others, Vegas game or whatever. But the chances in real life of 2 teams going head to head and having almost the same penalty differential and having it happen, I don't know how many days there are this NHL season, but they're usually like 100 days or 140 or whatever the hell it is. There's a ton of days of NHL, and almost all of them are within 1 or tied in terms of penalty differential. And we have teams with very different characteristics in this league. We brought up Boston, and Bruins fans are going to be pissed at me for bringing that up, but the Leafs have experienced Boston the most. That's why they're top of mind. They're a tougher team. They play a tougher game, and they know literally how to manipulate the refs. They do a great job of it. That's how you win. That's part of it. But when you even out penalties, when you have a team like the Leafs, which they were a little bit softer, a little bit faster, playing against the Boston, and the penalty differential is going to be the same, then you've eliminated what the Leafs are good at. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how long the league can continue to do this without starting to actually call the game. Because when you do get gambling involved, gambling's bigger than the NHL, much bigger.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll flash it back to 2006, 2007, and think about how the Anaheim Ducks were built that year. And they were basically built to take advantage of that fact. They ran a team out there with Chris Pronger as a captain who ran afoul of the law constantly during that playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
You have Brad May out there who, hey, great leader at all, but he's a tough guy. You get Corey Perry as a kid kind of running around out there, just, cutting his teeth on being somebody that everybody grew to hate. And just everybody involved with that team was, typical Brian Burke, let's get nasty, truculence, that whole thing. Like that team was built on basically taking advantage of the referees saying, well, they can't call everything, just do whatever you can, we'll take care of it. And they got away with it constantly. They got away with it in, I think it was the conference final against Detroit. They basically almost ended Dean McCammon's career in Ottawa. There was just a brutal elbow, and they were just kind of like, you got to do, that's hockey. That's toughness. And from that point on, it was basically just kind of like, well, you got to keep it even. No, you don't. You can punish teams for breaking the rules all the time. And if they do it, well, that's their own fault. I don't care how much the bench screams about it. I don't care how much the coaches and the GMs get mad that's the case. If you break the rules, you should get punished. And the sad part is that everybody thinks of that 05-06 year, fresh out of the lockout. Mm-hmm. And everybody says, well, if you call every penalty, it's all going to be gross like that. I was like, I don't know, man. I thought it was pretty fun.
That was a fun year. There was like 8 penalties aside. It was great.
And people were just like, oh, you can't have the whole game on the power play. Well, you can if you keep breaking the rules. Like
they'll adjust.
That's exactly. And teams did adjust, and speed took over, skill took over. It was great. And then everybody was like, wow, the game's too fast. Guys are going to get hurt. And I was like, well, I don't know. Guys are going to get their heads taken off. Otherwise, that hurts more. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's always been about game management forever. And I mean, it goes back even before that. I mean, if you want to get back into the Stone Age days of the trap years and the obstruction years, like that was all based on that. That's why they let everything go. And, never mind my own insane conspiracy theories about why that happened. But the fact was that they were just like, we're not going to do this. Every team's doing it. So we're just going to let it be. And that's completely what game management is. And that's bad.
What's the benefit? Like, why do they do this? How does the league benefit from this? Or how did they before gambling got involved?
They benefit because it keeps the games closer, ideally. And that's how they always want it. That's why the point system is still as broken as it is. It's the fake idea that they're going to be able to have more teams involved in the playoff race because they have the point system the way it is. If you keep the penalties even, well, not one team's going to be able to have their power play run out there constantly and score goals at will, because they're only going to have 2 or 3 or 4 opportunities compared to the other team getting the same chances. So they look at it as a way to just keep things balanced, because they always want balance. They don't want teams to be over excelling and just running away with stuff, because then it becomes one-sided in their view. And I don't know, man. I'm getting kind of tired of seeing a lot of bad teams at the bottom, and then just a whole glom of very average teams in the middle, and then maybe 1 or 2 that seem to exceed expectations. And that, to me, it's the whole race for parity, and parity's bad. Parity, you're not allowing excellent teams to be themselves. You're not allowing, you're allowing bad teams to catch up with teams that they shouldn't even be in the same contest with. And, I get it. You want to keep arenas filled. You want to do all that stuff, but it's such a drag. It's such a drag. And it happens. And it's literally every sport now with all this stuff, and caps get blamed and all that. But really it's this run to make everybody on the same par is just insane, because some teams can just evaluate better. Some teams just have better talent. Let them be the better teams. Just let them excel.
Mm-hmm. Joe, do you have any guess on what the NHL's next step is? Like, do they have all the referees on a Zoom call and tell them not to do these things? Or do they just kind of continue to try and bury the story so people stop talking about it?
I think it's going to be business as normal. Tim Peel, I think, is just disliked, for the most part. I mean, when a referee's name, it's not usually for a good reason. It's pretty rare when it is. I mean, not everybody can be the guy out there just doing, 5 minutes for fighting and just, turning it into a little bit of a UFC thing. But I mean, it's that sort of thing where if you go to a game, and you hear Tim Peel announce before the game, what's your reaction? Are you just like, oh boy? here we go. This is going to be some kind of mayhem. Like that's how it is with that. So they're going to look at it as an aberration and say, listen, we don't have a problem with our officiating. Everything is good. There's nothing to see here. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I think that's the way they're going to treat it, because that's the way it's always been treated.
So that's how the NHL deals with fans whining, though. And that's how they dealt with it in 2011 or 2010, whenever it was you wrote that article. Because really, it was just a bunch of nerds. Let's be honest. It was a bunch of nerds like us digging through these documents that Tyler Dello dug up. And now he works for the Devils. I would love to see their penalty differential since he got hired. And I would love to see the Oilers penalty differential when he worked for them. So you just got nerds going through their files, and it makes a few blogs. And wow, isn't this interesting? And the NHL responds, no, it's not. What happens then when the gambling companies go, fix your shit now? I bet they do.
Yeah. They 100% do. And I think we all have that to look forward to at some point. I look at like what's happened with TV in the United States, where all the Fox Sports carriers became Bally's Sports, and they're not, Bally's isn't a broadcast network. They're a casino, like they're gambling. And now they run TV stuff. So that's already a big part of it. And like I said, there's already sponsorship deals in place. And if the league's getting a cut of the gambling money from any of these places where it's okay, like they're getting a cut, like, even, I know it's a competitor with you guys, but even the Score jumping into this in a big way with gambling, like that's a whole other thing where, you're talking about a giant operation of people just saying, hey, this is going to make us a lot of money and it's going to make you money too. And let's face it, money talks. And the NHL might be dumb in a lot of ways, but they're not dumb when it comes to money, because when it means money in their pocket, they're going to do what it takes to make that better. The thing I wonder about, and it's, to me, it starts with like doing even just basic injury updates instead of just being like, upper body, I don't know, we'll see when he comes back. Or, lower body, I don't know, he's week to week. Well, how many weeks? Like how soon are we talking about? Getting clarity on that stuff. I mean, NFL teams sometimes play loose and free with that. I mean, I think of Bill Belichick putting, his entire offense on the list being questionable for a week. And it's just kind of like, all right, you're just being a dick about it. So whatever, have fun. But, but if you try to generate more interest, and let's face it, degenerate interest is still interest. And if you want gambling money in there, you got to be truthful. You got to show that at least that there's some sort of faith in what you're doing. And, listen, if they want it to be game managed balance, let everybody know it's going to be that way. If you're going to call the game by the rules, okay, fine. But as long as it's clearly stated that like this is just the way it's going to be, instead of just wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, oh no, we're officiating, right? You're not going to be able to get as much money moving on hockey. Hockey's tricky enough to bet anyways, and if you're clouding it up with this kind of goofball stuff, I mean, especially if you're doing prop bets on power plays and things like that, like, I don't know, man. Like that's still cash on hand. That's still cash that can be in your pocket. And if you're just going to avoid it, you're not going to see it. And then as soon as people stop caring about it, man, they bail. And bettors are not going to stick around. They don't have any patience for any kind of nonsense when it comes to this stuff.
Do you think the NHL has gone too far down one road with this game management stuff to now turn back? Because if they do change now, even if it's for money, people are going to say, well, okay, so that's what you were doing.
Here's what I could see happening. This year goes on the way it does. Mm-hmm. The way you expect, the rule book will change completely in the playoffs again. And then when next season comes around, I think you're going to see some new directives, and maybe the beginning of the season, you start seeing the calls being made a little bit different. And suddenly you're going to be like, wait a minute, these are the right calls, but it's a little weird. They're getting made so regularly. This is fascinating. Because I could see them just kind of trying to play it off and just be like, no, everything's fine. And then just come right back and say, hey, look, things are different. This is a different season. We're going to pump things up. We've got our ESPN deal. They don't want to see things kind of be all clouded. We got all this other stuff. Let's make sure we got things all squared away. I mean, think about the old crease rule back in '99. That whole, and I don't even, I'm mentioning that. I mean, being in Buffalo, I might get a cruise missile sent through my window. I mean, that whole year, and the whole playoff, and right up to the very end, they're like, nope, this is the rule. This is the way it is. That's how it is. And then the next year, the rule was nuked completely. Like, nope, never happened. Sorry. We know we did this for 2 years, but it never happened. So these things can change, but it's doing it midseason. The only guy that can make a midseason change is Sean Avery, and
there it is.
That's about it.
Oh man,
I wish he did it. I wish it was him. Shoot,
Joe. Speaking of cruise missiles, the Buffalo Sabres season, and here's the funny part: the fact that they haven't won in 15 games, but it's not a losing streak. It's a winless streak because they lost a couple of games in overtime because, as you mentioned earlier, the NHL point system is broken for parity's sakes, but that's not even going to save the Sabres this time.
They want to keep it close.
What do you think? What do you think's going to happen now that obviously the quarantine rule between the United States and Canada has changed? What do you think happens with the players that are dealt? Who do you think's gone and where do you think they're going? And then what happens with the Sabres going forward? What do you do with this team?
I think it's time to dust off the old video of the fire sale, the Buffalo Sabres fire sale video that went viral. What was that, like 9 years ago? I forget. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think all bets are on Taylor Hall going somewhere. I would put money on any one of, I know you guys are very hot for him up in Toronto, and people are pointing at the lack of production and saying this like, oh geez, he's no good. No, he's really good. It's just, the Sabres are historically terrible this year. So, so he's got to go to some place where they need him. I don't know if it's going to be the Islanders. That seems to make a lot of sense with Lee out for the year, or Pittsburgh, maybe with Malkin being questionable, for, who knows how long. Obviously, Toronto, just take it. Everybody on, please. Just make it even funnier if the Leafs have to play in Buffalo in the playoffs at some point. Like, yeah. I'm all for chaos. So I really, if it means the Leafs in like in the Stanley Cup semifinals and having to play in Buffalo, please make it happen. I want to laugh forever. I think it would be amazing.
Last thing with the Sabres, it's unfathomable how bad Rasmus Dahlin has been, and it's more unfathomable the idea of trading him. What do you think the percentage is there? Like, because surely a player with that kind of talent, first overall pick 2017, 4 years ago, for God's sake, surely he can be salvaged.
You would hope so. And I think the Sabres are in a position where he has to be. What I worry about is that it's going to turn into a Rasmus Ristolainen redux situation where you put the blame on the coaching and the situation so much, which I personally do. I think Ristolainen fell into bad habits, playing under Ted Nolan, and then, just kind of getting stuck in like, hey, bang it off the glass and throw it out. Playing 20 minutes a night on one of the worst teams ever in 14-15, like that's no good. You can't have young guys like that who you're counting on to be, a future, top 4 defenseman. You can't have a guy like that play 20 plus minutes a night. Well, they did. And I think in Dahlin's case, everything that he did great his rookie year, Ralph Kruger spent the entire time trying to say, well, we're not going to turn him into Erik Karlsson. We need to have him play defense. And I was like, I don't know. I think a guy with great possession numbers who gets 70 points a year is really good. So why not? I don't know. Maybe lean into that a little bit more instead of just, hey, throw your elbows around, hit some people, get bigger. Like, it's backwards. It's very backwards thinking. It's been around in Buffalo since like Phil Housley. Like, granted, they traded Housley for another Hall of Famer, so I don't think of that too bad. But they, Brian Campbell, they got tired of. I don't know. He turned out to be pretty good. He was all right. Andre Sekera got run out for the same reasons. He was a pretty good player. Like just guys who play offensive defense and don't get out and rough it up and get nasty in the corners just seems to make people get weary here. And for the life of me, I don't understand it, but yeah, Dahlin, they cannot afford to have that go sideways. And, maybe Dan Girardi is going to help him out. We know what Girardi's career was. He was a tough guy. He blocked a ton of shots. He was a torts guy. Maybe he can help get his head around here in the meantime. But for me, go hire a coach that can get it done. They've tried every version of a new coach. They went outside the box with Kruger, the new up and comer with Housley, the Stanley Cup winner with Bilesma. They've done all this stuff. Go get freaking Bruce Boudreau. Like, I think of what he did in Washington, and he pushed Mike Green to be hey, listen, I know your D stinks. Just go and get a ton of points. I don't care about the defense. Just do it. And in Minnesota, I mean, he gets to run with Ryan Suter and Jared Spurgeon. Spurgeon became a pretty damn good defenseman under Boudreau. And so I just see all guys like that where I'm just kind of like, hey, this guy's out there right there. Just go hire him. Just bring him in right now. And instead of just kind of dawdling around and waiting for a college coach to become available or finding some sort of cheap way to get through it. But man, you can't screw up on Dahlin. You just can't let that go sideways.
But Kruger's is going to make 3.75 next year, part of his deal. Mm-hmm. Can they afford to wrap $7 million up in coaching? Because Boudreau's going to cost something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it in the past when they've fired guys and had to hire a new guy where they had a bunch of money tied up with coaches they had just fired for the next year or two. So,
okay.
I mean, they should do it if they feel weary about doing it. It's a weird time to draw a line in the sand because if it goes really sideways next year, if you think about trading Dahlin's bad, when Jack Eichel's no move clause kicks in after 21, 22, you want to be Kevin Adams and being told, hey, I want to leave, and here's the only teams I'm going to accept going to. Good luck.
Yeah, right. But you don't see Jack being traded in the next, I don't know, in this calendar year.
No, I don't think so. I think with Ralph being fired, this whole season just being a Murphy's Law situation where everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. I think that you kind of have to take a pass on it. I mean, the COVID thing that happened with the Devils, that they were doing okay up to that point. I mean, things weren't great, but they at least won games.
Yeah.
They basically had a hex put on them by COVID, and they've been, lost 15 straight since then. So I'm willing to give this year a pass, but I mean, clock's ticking as far as Jack's concerned. He's at some point you just get sick of it and you want to go.
You mentioned college coaches briefly there. Is Mike Babcock anybody's thought in the organization? Has that crossed anybody's mind? You bring in Mike Babcock and kind of straighten things out?
No, I don't think so. I think once Mike Babcock decided to go to Toronto instead of Buffalo a few years ago, that basically sealed it with the Pagulas. Pagulas have a long memory for that kind of stuff, and I don't know for sure that they feel like they got slighted by Mike, but I know that they are in preparations to get ready to announce him as the coach. Until I think the story the way it went with Babcock was that his agent told him to go, hey, talk to the Leafs one more time, kind of like how Tavares worked, but hey, listen to the Leafs, see what they got to say, and go from there. And obviously that's how that changed out, but I can't imagine they circle back. The Pagulas love to circle back to guys that they've interviewed in the past for positions, but I just cannot see them doing that with Babcock.
Right. Joe, I mean, great to have you on the show. We're going to have to keep bringing you back because there's the Sabres are unfortunately in this case. We're going to have to keep talking about it. I have a feeling that if anybody's going to make some noise at this very dead deadline, which is what we're thinking it's going to be, we're going to have to get a little bit more insight on that. So Joe Yerdon, thanks so much for your time today, man. And it's great to finally have you on.
Yeah, no, this is awesome, guys. It's a pleasure to talk with everybody. It's sweet to finally bring it on. I'm glad it took a story I wrote 10 years ago to make it happen. That's my favorite part of this.
Well, we want to see you writing more now in 2021.
And we will include a link to that story, by the way, in our bio on YouTube for anybody that wants to check it out. Joe Yerdon, thank you so much for your time today.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much.
This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us. Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom by offering chewable tablets that can help get men stronger and longer lasting erections. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men achieve harder and stronger erections to combat all forms of ED. And ED is something we need to talk about a little bit more. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no doctor's visits are needed, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. You sign up at bluechew.com, consult one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're all approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, it is all done online. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we've got a special deal just for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code TWO at checkout. Just pay $5 at shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code 2 to receive your first month free. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this latest podcast. Well, Joe was great. And with that, we conclude this Tim Peel thing. I'm sure in 10 years, this will come up again. And we'll be 10 years older talking about it again. And nothing will have changed.
The NHL is broken, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not how you should run a professional sports organization where your games are just rigged for parity. Like, that's
the problem is that it's an echo chamber at the top. Yeah, they do a lot of things right. They do.
At the top.
Well, the media was
everywhere by Twitter.
It was wild yesterday. The amount of people going, the game management's the right way. No, it fucking isn't. It's terrible.
Now they're not going to wear mics anymore. So they can get back to match fixing in peace.
Right. Or so we can cheat in secret. Like, okay.
Like, and by the way, so everyone listening, you have reading homework. Joe Yerdon's piece from 2010 or 11. We'll link to it. Also, Greg Wyshynski, 2015, when he was with Yahoo Sports. So he criticized Tim Peel for a long time. And magically, and this is the sort of thing that I feel like only Wish would do, they met up at a bar called Foley's and they got drinks together. And Tim Peel actually got in trouble for it. But they hashed it out. Tim Peel was talking about, hey, listen, I know I screw up. This hurt my feelings. These things I find funny, et cetera, et cetera. The Colin Campbell stuff, though, in the NBC piece from a decade ago, I can't let go of. And to me, it shows eras of the internet. That story breaks today. We never see Colin Campbell again. He's fired, so incredibly fired. But it happened back then. And like I told you, it was nerds.
And if anybody brought it up, Steve, it would be cancel culture.
Yes, it was just nerds. It was nerds. Like, nerds don't care. This dude was calling Mark Savard, who he had previously coached, a giant fake artist. He was on more than one occasion emailing, complaining about penalties called on his son. Talking about, and there were some worse ones in there. Oh, this guy's complaining about calls. Assign him this ref and this ref. We'll see how he likes it. I'm pretty sure it was on more than one occasion throughout that article that I read of Joe's from Tyler Dello's now deleted website, because he previously worked for the Oilers. I think that's when he deleted it, and now he works for the Devils. So he's intentionally talking about intentionally sending refs to certain games to fuck with teams, telling the head of officiating so-and-so is a giant fake artist, telling the head of officiating, I don't appreciate the way my son is being officiated. That story breaks yesterday, March 24th, 2021. We never hear of him again. And it's a decade later, he's still here. So that, to me, is where the problem comes from. It comes from the top, and Tim Peel is an enormous scapegoat. And the unfortunate individual who, of course they do. And it's so unfortunate for him that it had to be him. There's already name brand recognition. The Stéphane Auger thing, by the way.
Man, I forgot about that.
So what is that?
Explain the Auger thing one more time, because this was crazy at the time too.
Yeah, you got to look it up. So Joe was talking about that. Basically what happened, Burroughs, he dove in a game or something that Auger officiated, or basically Auger watched a penalty that he called. He rewatched it, and he thought Burroughs made a fool of him. And there's footage of Auger skating up to him before the game. And they're having what looks like a decently animated discussion. And what Burrows alleged after the game is OJ is like, I saw what you did last game. You made a fool of me, and I'm going to get you. And Burrows took like 4 penalties that night. It was like 3 or 4 penalties. They were brutal. And by the way, the penalty that Peel ultimately called on Arvidsson, the makeup call, is stunning. It's stunning. Like, it's not... If you're looking for makeup calls, right? Some refs, if people talk about, oh, makeup calls, they're part of the game, they're part of the fabric. So you're telling me calls that shit happen every single game on purpose? I'm not betting on hockey, folks. You're not getting my money. Yeah. You're not, and I'm not talking about me, Steve, individually. I'm talking about people with actually deep pockets.
And who are good at this?
Hockey's already one of the most difficult sports to bet on because of just the it's so hard, it's so difficult to predict because it's so even across the board and there's so much randomness. And then these things where you kind of know, hey, you don't know what's gonna happen each night. It might be a hot goalie, it might be too many penalties. You just don't know. That's why it's not fun to bet on hockey. It's just with games like football, you have these strategies and these teams and all of this history where like, okay, you can get into this and you can see trends and patterns and people have all this numbers around the games and betting on football, and hockey just doesn't have that. And eventually they need to get to that point because of the amount of revenue that betting can drive to your sport. If they want to make up all this money lost in the pandemic, that's where it needs to go in the future because that's where sports is going.
And people are not asking for much. Like people, okay, what do you want? You want them to put the whistles away? What do you want? You want them to call more penalties? Some people are even saying, well, just call the rule book. My request is so much simpler than that. Do not fabricate calls for game management. That the penalty against Victor Arvidsson it's a fabricated call. It, first of all, was not tripping.
No,
so,
it wasn't.
the tripping call, it wasn't just bad, though. If a ref fucks up, makes a mistake, gosh gee willikers, try not to make another one. Don't then exacerbate the problem by making it worse and calling another one. That was nonsense. Nonsense. So how often are refs then? So do refs have 2 modes in the regular season? They're looking to make up calls, and then in the playoffs, they just go on vacation? But in person? You ever go on an in-person vacation where you're just doing fuck all at work? Come on. Stopping games from getting out of hand. That was another argument, another bullshit argument that I saw. Refs are there to make sure games don't get out of hand. This was an early second period game on a Tuesday night between the Preds and the Red Wings, who are both very shit. What are you talking about?
Adam, what did you say about the game earlier?
Oh, it was a horseshit game anyway. No one cares. Like, really, it was a nothing game. What are you managing, guys?
I know they care.
Let's manage loser 1 and loser 2.
This isn't a case of a 6-0 game that's getting chippy and guys get misconducts. That I don't have as much of a problem with.
I do, because there's a part of me that's like, oh, kill each other.
No,
but you're right. You don't want to. You don't want to
reptilian bit.
Yeah. But also, I understand you don't. No, these are assets to the league. You don't want people going down because of a 6-0 game. I get that too.
Right.
You want to get it out of hand.
But I better never see prop bets on a scorecard, on a betting card ever again for the NHL. Because if it's over under penalty minutes, that's a lie. Because you might make up a call and there's evidence that you might. So you can't have that ever on an NHL betting card.
And if you want a game called a certain way, we know from Joe's article from a decade ago with Colin Campbell, all it takes is an email.
Yeah.
Please call the game this way.
Yeah. Call more penalties tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So you're rigging the system.
Yes.
It's a terrible look. And, it's funny. The NBA had issues with officiating. There was actually a guy that went to
Tim
jail.
Donaghy.
Oh, did he go to jail? He did fix matches. And then there was a whole bunch of stuff that came out about the Lakers sending in, a sizzle reel of Kobe Bryant fouls that weren't called. And then, Kobe Bryant started getting every call go his way, which was an overcorrection. And now NBA officials have to post a public, here's why I did what I did every game.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is the integrity of the NBA game, because of money, matters more than ever because you can bet on NBA games. And I would be interested to see if any of those same partners that get that from the NBA start asking the NHL, hey, where's that? We want to see that. We want to see that, or otherwise we're just going to not.
Yeah, there's a report post game. Like if an NBA referee misses a call in the last 2 minutes of a game, there's a report released by the NBA that says this referee missed this call in the last 2 minutes, and it should have been a foul here or whatever they missed. That's an official document that's released to the media, and the NHL needs that equivalent to hold these referees responsible so they're actually making the right calls.
The NBA will go back and change the score. I can't believe that. That was something I didn't even know they did it until I was at a game one day. I'm like, it was between quarters. I'm like, the score changed. Mm-hmm. What happened?
Yeah, because like if they checked like, hey, his foot was on the line, they'll switch a 3 from a 2, like from the second quarter.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But this has been my contention. If you're going to have replays, if you're going to have these things,
use them.
Then be robotic about it. But if you're going to have referees just do it and you're going to be willy-nilly, then I guess you're accepting that there's human error. It's one or it's the other. Commit one way fully or commit the other way fully. Do one. Chaos or order, whichever one you want, but I just want to be able to know what the fuck I'm going to watch.
Yeah. Tennis is in that in-between space right now where they have the technology to call every single point just on like a button. If it's sitting in front of the umpire, he can know if a ball hit the line or it didn't hit the line. And they haven't gone fully that way, but like they soon should. Will. I was listening to a podcast recently of the founder of Reddit. He's married to Serena Williams, and he was sitting there watching a tennis match. And he's like, you guys have it right here, this technology where you can just, hey, this ball is in instantaneously. And eventually it's going to get to that level.
I don't understand what the holdup is. And here's the thing. Tennis invested in that. The NHL has not and will not invest in that. It doesn't benefit them because it calls them on their own bullshit. They'll tell on themselves. So they're not going to put millions of dollars because the NHL game is extremely difficult to call. I mean, you got 4 officials for a reason, right? There's so many fucking rules.
Yeah.
And so I think, I mean, like they've talked about how you can have like a goal line. You've got goal line cameras. When a puck goes in, you could have that on the blue line. You could have, for offsides, you could have all that already. And then it shuts the play down immediately because somebody's offside. That could happen, but they're not going to invest in that. It's cheaper not to. And then their bullshit's called. And I think the reality is until a betting company, I think Joe nailed it, until a betting company gets pissed off and walks away, or here's the other thing that the NHL could face. So the betting companies come on board with these teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they find no one fucking wants to bet.
Yeah, what if they try and the money's not there?
And nobody's there.
Even sadder. Yeah.
Oh boy, we got a problem. We can't even get gamblers?
Yeah.
There was
New Jersey made $1 billion in a month last from legal gambling. I think it was in
the Devils.
No, New Jersey, like the state.
Oh, the state.
Oh, the
yeah,
state.
yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Holy shit.
Their revenue.
I guess they're buyers at the deadline. Hey,
yeah, the New Jersey.
Like, what's up? What's up?
I think it's the state of New Jersey where their revenues are reaching $1 billion a month from legal gambling.
A month?
Yeah, like it's absurd.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my god, how Canadian do we sound right now? Thinking $1 billion's a lot of money.
That's nothing. Nothing.
No, I was thinking about that area, and I'm like, oh wait, that's shit all.
Yeah, honestly, legalize pot, legalize gambling. Just regulate it.
Oh, keep it going, Adam. What else?
Yeah, slippery slope.
Where does this end? Anyway,
there was one more thing. Matt Duchene. I thought it was very interesting that he was the only player I saw speak about this. There was Jason Demers as well.
Tavares talked about it, but he Tavares'd it.
Oh, Tavares did what everyone else did. So for some reason, every coach in the world got asked about it, and they all handled it like geniuses. DJ Smith, Paul Maurice, Daryl Sutter. They all, in different words, praised officiating, which, no, don't shake your head, Adam. These guys are trying to win games.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it. Grease the wheel.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, man.
Forget the betterment of the game. Let's just try to win it for the now.
Yep. Correct. That's their job, man. That's their job.
And you're right. You're absolutely right, Steve.
No, and I understand the underlying problem there. They don't give a fuck. That's their job. I found it very interesting that Matt Duchene was the guy, because I have heard someone in hockey drop the infamous B on him. The notorious bad guy.
And what did he say?
Matt Duchene? Well, he's basically like, that can't happen.
He's right. Right.
He is absolutely right, but that's not the way hockey thinks. Therefore, bad guy.
So somebody called him a bad guy for that?
No, but he's already got a reputation, I'm saying, as maybe an outside thinker, bad guy. Now, I don't know what else there is to it. It wasn't very in depth. But
it's like Dougie Hamilton going to a museum.
Bad guy.
Skipped a team hangout to go to a museum.
Sorry, but you're banished to the Hurricanes, Dougie.
Go play with a good team.
You don't fit in Calgary. We're going to be successful.
And we're going to have a unusual amount of confrontation over post-game pucks in a single season.
And we're 4 points behind Montreal.
Oh,
not
God.
Good, man. By the way, Calgary season, hanging by a thread. Yeah. Hanging by a thread. That is. Sorry, go ahead.
On the penalty stuff, like, is the little things in the game, like slashing in front of the net, like, are those things ever going to get called out?
No.
You know, because that's clearly a penalty. You know, you can cross-check a guy in the back as long as he's standing in front of the goalie. Like, those little things about hockey, are we ever going to work towards fixing them where the game is just kind of fair?
I think yes, but this group's got to go.
The thing is, Jesse, like, people keep dragging this conversation into different areas, and every time that happens, there are so many more variables. So what are we going to crack down on cross-checking in front of the net and slashing and all that? No, the task at hand is literally don't rig the game. The task at hand is and that's what Tim Peel did. And I know he's not alone. That doesn't make it right, but that's literally what he did. He rigged the game. Now, Nashville won 2-0, thank goodness, but he called a false penalty on Victor Arvidsson and put the Predators at an intentional disadvantage. Now, maybe he did that because he didn't like the penalty that he called for Nashville that they scored on. Maybe he didn't like that. Yes, wear the fucking thing. That is an unintentional mistake. Was it even a mistake? That penalty call was a lot more legitimate than Victor Arvidsson breathing. He breathed on the guy.
Guys, my parents are divorced. I took my mom's car. She let me use it, and I blew it up. So to make that right, I blew up my dad's car too. Literally, like, it's just the dumbest. It's so dumb. This is dumb. Can we move on? I'm tired of how dumb this is. I blew it up, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight you.
I like that. I'm trying to look up, like, penalty differential on the NHL website, which I gotta tell you is a lot of fun. So they have. Yeah, if I had researched this, we could spend more time on it, but it's all extremely even. It's extremely even, and that's just not the way it should be. That's not the way it should be. You can't tell me that the last 5 teams are going to take the same amount of penalties as the top 5.
That's right.
Right. I saw someone go, like, the only player who should be happy about this is Connor McDavid.
And why is that?
Well, he's on a 144-point pace over 82 games. And what's amazing about that is it should be more. It should be like, he should honestly be on like a 200-point pace. The Oilers could draw a penalty every shift he's out there. Then the question will be, well, do you want that? And no, but like there's rules, man. Like be better. Like I don't know what to tell you. Okay, because we don't want to see the entire game played on the power play. You can just do whatever you want to Connor McDavid. Is what you're telling me,
right?
Like a child,
right?
Like, I'm sorry, you're a child. That is not adult thinking. Oh God, we're not done with this. I don't care if everyone else is done with this. I'm not letting this go. I'm going to be a dog and a bone here.
Let's do the press conference. Unhappy with your smile? You don't have to be. Thousands of people have used Candid, the clear, comfortable, removable, and practically invisible aligners that help straighten their teeth, and now they love their smile. Just like Justin M. from Atlanta, who said when he was younger, he used to have a gap in the front and on the side of his teeth, and he noticed that people would always look at his mouth first. So he said, so I was looking for a fix. Candid ended up being the perfect company for me. Can't stop smiling now. There is no comparison. Your treatment is prescribed and closely monitored remotely by a licensed orthodontist who's an expert in tooth movement, and you'll have the same quality of care that you'd get from an in-office orthodontist from the comfort and convenience of your own home. And while other companies use general dentists, Candid only works with orthodontists. With Candid, the same orthodontist who created your plan is with you from start to finish, so you never have to wonder how you're doing. The average Candid treatment, just 6 months, and you'll start seeing results way before then, and it costs thousands less than traditional braces. Become the best you want to be. Start straightening your teeth today. Right now, you can save $75 on Candid Starter Kit. Go to candidco.com/SDP and use the code SDP. That's candidco.com/SDP, code SDP. Take advantage of this limited time offer and save $75 on your starter kit. candidco.com/SDP, code SDP.
So let's do Lowry first, and then Adam forgot to do his thing.
I did. I forgot to do research, so we're doing that Monday. Yay. All right, cool.
No, so go to your car, research it for 4 minutes.
Do it the proper way. No, I want to make sure I get it right. I haven't had time. It's been a busy week.
Okay. Yeah, because we teased Adam's special history corner for this episode, and Adam forgot, so we're not doing it now. Mm-hmm. And then Steve, I was going to do a zoo corner, but I don't know if the people want it.
No. Well, I got so many tweets like, well, I don't know. I was looking forward to your zoo story. Like,
did you get a lot of your friends are dicks?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird that they had that perception. Like, what do you think might have caused that?
I don't know. Nothing at all.
No. Okay. Wait, are you giving me Zoo Corner as a makeup call?
I was going to, but we're running out of time. So I want to do Lowry first, and then next episode, we'll do History Corner and Zoo Corner.
Oh, God. Wow. Zoo Corner. Can't wait.
Very interesting.
I'll get my allergy meds ready because we're going to get up and close and personal with Steve, the zoo guy.
Hey, you know who's a Raptor?
Kyle Lowry. Now, okay, let me ask you this. And this has got to be, we got to be quick here because we are running out of time. Like, we're super tight. I know, listen, I was sad that Kyle Lowry is going to be traded, but this is a 35-year-old. And the Raptors clearly got lowballed because I don't think what was the offer? It was from the Heat wasn't very good, and the offer from the Sixers wasn't very good, and they ended up trading for someone else. And
I don't know why the Lakers were ever in it because they don't have enough pieces to give away.
Leverage.
Like I don't want KCP in a deal for Lowry. It's not going to be worth it.
So besides telling the league you're not going to lowball me, basically.
No.
But then do they have to resign him now?
Well, they were able to recoup, what was it? A second for Terrence Davis, a second for Matt Thomas, and who they get from Norman Powell again?
Gary Trent Jr.
Gary Trent Jr. And
there was another player.
There was a guy.
Rodney Hood, I think it was.
So they recouped some assets. I'm looking at Shams saying Victor Oladipo. So obviously the silver medal here from Miami. Houston traded Victor Oladipo to Miami for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a draft swap. And I'm looking at that going, like, no.
The Heat were probably like, Kelly Olynyk's Canadian. This will be popular. They would.
No. I don't want that for Kyle Lowry. No. Like you're not going to trade him for nothing like that. I think Masai did the right thing because, like, from the Heat, you want Duncan Robinson and a bunch of picks, or Tyler Hero and a bunch of picks, or those two guys and then no picks. But like, if you keep the best player in franchise history for the rest of the season, maybe he comes back on, like, I don't know, hometown discount, but I think not. Probably goes signs with 76ers, his actual hometown. But like, you don't give away Lowry for nothing. It looks bad on Masai if he does that.
Now,
I got to imagine if Lowry wanted out, he'd be out right now.
Yeah, I don't think he does. I think the thing is that the Raptors are not in the position that, say, the Leafs were in 14-15 when they had to sell veterans because they needed to reset because they sucked. The Raptors have had a bad year, but this is inherently a pretty good team that's not a whole lot different from last year. The only difference is they're playing in a hotel in Tampa, and they don't have their home fan support, and they're not at home. And don't kid yourself. It's not been a fun season. It's depressing as hell.
I don't think they're this bad.
I don't think so either. And I think the Raptors brass knows they're not. So they're not in a fire sale position. So why do it?
Yeah. Going into the All-Star break, they were playing really well. I think they got up to, the fourth seed in the conference. Like, this was a team that was on a roll, and then it fell off a cliff. And you don't want to blame the pandemic on everything that happened, but it's also an excuse. It's a very legitimate reason for all of their troubles. A bunch of them got COVID. The coaching staff was out for a while. Fred said COVID it destroyed his body for that week, and he wouldn't wish it on anybody. Like, it's been a terrible experience when you're not in your hometown. You haven't seen anybody from, like, your neighborhood where you've been living for the past couple of years in Toronto. It's an excuse that you have to be like, okay, I understand.
Yeah. It affects everybody. So, and you know what? The reality is they're only 11th. They could make it. They could still go on a run and make it.
I don't want to see the Raptors in the play-in tournament. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, because
they could.
They're one seat away from getting into that little thing, but I don't want to watch that. I'd rather they bottomed out or got up to, like, a 6th seed.
Got a delicious first-round draft pick out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but it's okay. Those seconds, Masai's going to get the best player in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this works.
Yeah.
He'll draft them from his BlackBerry.
Yo,
It'll be great.
Forget Kyle. They got to re-sign Masai.
That's a good point. Yeah.
He has not been re-signed.
No, he doesn't have a deal for next year.
Mm-hmm. But as Jeff Blair likes to say, this is a guy that could run for president, literally. So he's one of those. If you meet Masai, and I've interviewed him and met him a couple times, there's a presence about that man that is just different. There are some people that are just on a different level, and he's humming on a different frequency. So I would suspect that there's more than just basketball open to Masai Ujiri.
Mm-hmm.
And he may want to take advantage of that, which would be really sad.
But
also very good.
Yeah, for him and for the world.
As a Raptors fan, you're like, no, I'm sad.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
How would you guys, if Kyle Lowry this offseason, how would the two of you feel if he walked away in free agency?
Steve Dangle è un tipo maleonte. What does that mean? Well, in case you don't speak Spanish, that means Steve Dangle is a smelly guy, and I just learned it from Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app in the world. It's one of my goals for the new year was to learn a little bit of, new language. And Babbel has made the whole process addictively fun and easy, and I can throw little barbs at my friends in different languages. Little bite-sized lessons, perfect for guys like me who really have low attention spans. They're 15 minutes long, and they make it perfect to learn a new language. You're not spending your time conjugating verbs. We're talking about real-world conversations. Now, you've seen other language learning apps, and they use AI for their lesson plans. Babbel lessons were created by using over 100 language experts. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. And with Babbel, you could choose from 14 different languages, including the one I'm trying to learn, Spanish. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent. That's the part I'm still working on, so just bear with me. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. So that's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use the promo code THEORY. That's BABBEL.com code THEORY for an extra 3 months free. Babbel, language for life. Fine. He's done. What does he owe us? He owes us nothing.
Basketball's, I was about to say, yeah, but then it opens up the cap space. But no, if you traded him, you'd have that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, realistically, this probably isn't the best thing for the organization. But we too often forget the human aspect of it all. And I've brought this up a few times, what Elliot Friedman was talking about with the playoff picture last week. Like, the Canucks, should they be sellers? Probably. But they're one of the hottest teams in the league and country right now.
Mm-hmm.
What message does it send to sell off a bunch of guys with your best player out, by the way, and you're on a roll and might actually make it? What about the Blue Jackets?
They won't.
What about the Kings? What about, like, all those teams should maybe try to recoup assets for certain guys. It sends a bad message to the team and to the fan base when you're actually competitive and you pull the chute, unless it's a situation like the Blues, where you're like, the Blues a few years ago, where they're like, we're not good enough, we're going to retool. And hey, look at that, we won the Stanley Cup like 2 years later. Or the Rangers, who announced a rebuild.
Mm-hmm. I think Elliot's right in the point that he's making, but it's the wrong view to have. I think the Raptors have some pretty good young players to build around. So do the Canucks, but the Canucks are capped the fuck out, and they're not going to get better until they start managing that. So they've been good for 3 weeks. Who fucking cares? The point is the whole season.
Well, there's also are there 3 weeks left?
The Flames, who are playing like shit. Come on.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. Let me check.
Yeah, they are.
Are they? I thought the Canucks were ahead
Flames
of the
are
Flames
fifth, man.
Nah.
Oh, am I wrong?
Yes, you are. Well, okay. In points percentage, the Flames are above them. But the Canucks have 35 points. The Flames have 33. Canucks have played 3 more games.
So that's sort of a big thing. That's a big detail.
It is a big detail, but get there. And the Flames
will fuck it up for sure. But
they have been. They have been fucking it up.
Man, Vancouver, come on.
The points make the standings look a lot closer.
The self-delusion sometimes is crazy. It's crazy coming out of that city. It's insane.
You can
management group that's crazy. That's crazy if they think that. You can
still do all the things people are asking you to do. You can still trade all those players, but you have 3 weeks to evaluate.
Uh-huh.
And if this run continues, why would they ruin it?
No, you know what?
They've lost.
They're going to go 500 the whole way and go, we're hot. We're fucking hot. Look at us. Everything that they do now, if they don't lose 80 games in a row like they did at the beginning of the season against Montreal, is going to look good.
It's hilarious that they're 2 points back of that very same team.
With
in 6 more games.
Yeah. Montreal's played 31 games. Vancouver's 37. Oh, yeah, you got a chance. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah, you're right. Man, Calgary. I was tweeting about it last night. If they pull the chute and they decide they're out of it, there's some tasty parts I'd like to pick at.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Big save Dave is a Leaf. Let's go.
I have a feeling the deadline's going to be dead.
Yep. It's usually sort of dead anyway.
Yeah.
More like the dud line. Am I right? You know what? Okay. They don't make the federal government doesn't make a decision that affects the border without someone asking them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can you make quarantine a week instead of 2? Like that's a fairly large decision, and I got to imagine someone in Canada was in someone in the government's ear about that. I wonder if Kyle Dubas knows the Arkells.
Yeah,
all of the NHL teams.
Yeah, and Gary Bettman himself. Like I'm sure he made that call.
Yeah,
no, it was Dubas called the Arkells, who called Trudeau.
Who called Jerry D.
Mm-hmm.
Who called Jerry D.
Yeah.
And he made the decision.
There you go.
He hosts the Canadian Family Feud. He has that kind of pull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, Jerry probably does.
Yes, Americans, there is a Canadian Family Feud. It's good.
It's good. It is good.
I like it.
Jerry's great. I love Jerry. Anyway, listen, we got to wrap it up. But we will be back on Monday. Steve Zoo Corner, My History Corner, and a whole bunch of well-managed, even penaltied hockey games in between. So excited. Aren't you?
There's going to be, I think we're in for a week of absolute pants shitting by NHL officials.
Doubtful.
Oh.
Everything's going to go on the same. Nothing's changing.
No, refs never take anything personally. You're right.
And we'll leave it at that. Bye.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.